Hi everyone, today I'm going to be taking you through a full body repertoire. We're going to be going through a standing warm-up, a mobility series, a core section. We'll then go on to glutes and then we'll finish off with stretching. So I'm going to get you started with your posture setting first. So standing with your feet hip distance apart, toes pointing forwards. I'm going to get you just to rock your weight forwards and backwards into your toes and then back into your heels. And then just find that nice mid position where we're centered through our feet. So think of making a tripod with your big toe, little toe and your heel. And then lock the knees out and then we'll release them. So the legs are nice and soft, but they're straight. And then going through some pelvic tilts. So imagine that your pelvis is a bucket of water. We'll tip our water out through the front of the bucket and then tip it out through the back of the bucket. So going both directions here until we find that nice mid position where we're halfway and our bucket is level. Then when you're ready, I want you to think of lifting your chest. Ribcage just drop down so we're not flaring our ribs to the front. So ribs are tucked towards our abdomen here and collarbones are open, and then just go for a couple of shoulder rolls around. We'll allow our shoulder blades just to drop back down in towards our back pockets, so just letting them slip down nice and heavy. And then thinking of all the hairs on the back of the neck standing up, so getting that length all the way through to the crown of the head from our feet. Now we're going to take it into footwork series. So from here, keeping this lovely tall posture as if you're stood against a wall, you'll bend your knees forwards as if you're sliding your back down your imaginary wall, and then float your arms forwards to shoulder height. Keep the shoulders down, and then we'll lift our heels nice and high as you can take them, keeping the pelvis level. Then from here, straighten the legs, lower the heels, lower the arms at the same time, and then we'll continue through this series. As you're doing your footwork series, I want you to think about your posture, so making sure that you keep the same curve in your lower back as you move through and you don't arch and round, and making sure as if your sitting bones are pointing down to the floor, as if you slide your sitting bones towards your heels, and then just keeping that nice straight back. So we're not leaning forward at any point like we would with a squat movement. We're making sure that we stay nice and tall, and it's just into our ankles and our knees that we get most of the range here. So keeping this moving, thinking about your core stability, so making sure you've got your balance, so abs are drawn in, and then thinking about getting as much movement into your ankles as possible. So you slide down as low as you can, keeping the heels down, then lift the heels through, and then come all the way through to the start position. We'll go for 2 more, and then we'll reverse it. So now we're going to go up to tiptoes, straighten legs, that's it, and then we're going to drop down with our hips, then lower the heels, and then come back through to standing. So arms go out to the side, we reverse the circles on the arms, we float them out, we keep the shoulder blades down the entire time. We're staying upright with our nice posture. It's a little bit more challenging when we change the direction, just challenges the nervous system because you've got used to one way. So thinking about your balance, making sure your abdominals are drawn in, chest is lifted still, but ribs aren't flaring out to the front. We're not arching our back, we've got that nice neutral curve. So especially as we lower the heels, that's where I want you to make sure you don't send your sitting bones backwards, you keep the sitting bones over the heels. We'll take it for 3 more. Take your time, get into the ankle range. Last one, and then release. Now we're going to go into second position for our footwork series. This is where you're going to take your feet out nice and wide. Just to begin with, go for a couple of squats. Keep on our sitting bones pointing down to the floor, so you're going to bend the knees wide and then come back through. Work on getting that turn out, so you're squeezing your bottom, turning the kneecaps out to the side, and then just checking that when you get to your end position here, knees want to be over the middle of your foot, and you want to make sure they're pointing over to sort of second and third toe, so they're not rolling inwards with the toes pointing out. So we're going to add in the footwork series. So from here, hands can stay on hips to begin with. We're going to go down into your squats, lift the heels as high as possible, straighten the legs, and then lower through the heels. Still thinking of our posture, so we're not tipping forward, we're not sending our hips back behind us, So if you imagine you've got a little laser beam poking down from your sitting bones towards the floor, it stays in the same spot on the floor as you do this. And then we'll start to add in a little bit of Cleopatra arms. So this is where it becomes quite challenging for our coordination with this one. So Cleopatra arms, we'll just go through that. You start with your dumb waiter arms. This is the one where you have your palms upwards towards the ceiling, elbows into the waist. We're going to take the thumbs to the wall behind you, turning out and opening the chest, and then bring it back into center. So just go for a couple of these, and then we'll take it up to Cleopatra. So we go out, keep the shoulders pressed down, take the arms up as high as you can, the shoulders down, rotate and twist as far as possible, opening the chest still, so you're pushing back with the hands while rotating them up to the ceiling, and then bring it back in. Now we're going to do the same thing, but with our footwork legs. So we go down as we turn out with the arms. Then we lift the heels, lift the arms, rotate and twist as far as we can as we straighten, and then lower and bring the arms back to your start position. So rotating out, lifting, rotating and lifting, and then drawing back into the middle. So it's quite a lot for coordination. If I'm honest, as long as you're still doing the movement, I don't really mind the coordination and the pattern, providing you've got Cleopatra arms going on and footwork legs. See how far you can take that twist and feel like you're pushing something back. So you're really opening your collarbones here. We'll go in for 2 more. Last one. And then we're going to reverse the legs. But now we can keep hands on hips, so keep it easy for this last one. So up to tiptoes, keep your balance. Bend your knees, keeping those heels as high as you can. Then press the heels and then squeeze back up. As we squeeze back up with the heels down, I want you to now think of inner thighs and bottom really engaging. So we get a little bit more work into glutes and inner thighs with this one. You should feel lower abs, pelvic floor engaging a little bit. We'll go for 3 more. Last one. And then release. Now we're going to go into some balance work. So as if you're stood on a tightrope, you're going to stand with your feet pointing forwards, one in front of the other. Just find your mid position on your balance. So rock into your front leg, rock into your back leg, and then come halfway so your weight is equal between the front and the back leg. Again, the knees want to be straight, but they want to be soft. So you just want to soften them a little bit here. Hands are going to rest onto hips. If you're stood on a carpeted surface or a thick mat, you'll find this a little bit more challenging than if you're on a flat surface, like a hard wooden floor. So when you're ready, focusing on posture, collarbones are open, keeping soft into the knees, staying in the middle of both feet. So we're going to close our eyes. We're going to hold this position here. You'll feel your ankles wobbling around. Allow your ankles to feel like they are the consistency of jelly. And then think of your knees being like little shock absorbers. They're going to absorb all the wobble. And then hips upwards, we're nice and sturdy. So if you imagine that at your hip height is the ground level and you're a big sturdy oak tree, so your core is nice and solid, there's no movement despite it being a windy day. Our legs are going to be our roots, so they're just going to be grounding us. So you want to feel like you're drawing down into the ground as you hold this here. And then opening your eyes. Well done. We're now going to go into a few little bends. So we're going to drop down into the knees and then rise back up. Now I want you to engage through your glutes as you do this one. So you soften and drop down, staying nice and upright with your posture. Then squeeze both bottom muscles. You'll feel it more into your back one with this one. And rise back up as if you're pushing your way out of quicksand. So squeezing the back of the legs, squeezing the glutes, lift as tall as you can. And then soften back into it. And then squeezing back up. So just a nice engager for the glutes as we push through. We'll take it for 2 more. And then we've got the whole challenge on the opposite side. So after this one, just swap over with your front and back leg. So you're going to change through, toes pointing forwards. Set your balance first of all. So your weight's equal between front and back leg. You're soft into your knees. Collarbones are open, chest is lifted, abs are drawn in. And then when you're ready, we'll close our eyes. So again, allow your ankles to wobble. Let them do their thing. They will be wobbling around. As you get that wobble, your nerves send a message back to your brain to let you know where you are in space. So this is where we really rely purely on our senses here. And then keeping your eyes closed just for a little bit longer. If you need to reset, if you fall out of position, just step straight back into it and close your eyes again. Double check your posture, make sure the collarbones are lifted. We've not started to stoop forwards. And then opening your eyes. Well done. Now we'll go into those little bends. So we're going to drop down as if we're sinking, and then squeeze the bottom muscles, push your way out of the quicksand, and then dropping back through. And as always, whatever's your back foot, you'll tend to feel that glute a little bit more than the front one, but don't neglect the front one. So you want to try and really squeeze both bottom muscles as you come back through. So we're just dropping down, squeezing back up, keeping our balance. You can always add the if you want a little bit more balance challenge today. We'll go for 2 more. Last one, and then after this one, relax, shake the legs out a little bit. We're going to go into some bowlers next. So still working on our balance, but now getting a little bit more into glutes. So I'll show you side on, but you can stay facing me. So you're going to stand onto one leg, you're going to think about getting your balance, you're going to make sure your hips are level, so if you imagine spirit level being on your belt line, you want to make sure the bubble's in the middle. Then when you're ready, you're going to bend one knee, your standing knee, so you're going to drop into the knee. Keep the chest nice and tall, focus on having a nice straight back. From here, we're going to tip forwards from the hips, so imagine car headlight beam on your hips. Just tip it down towards the floor, keeping the back straight, so the chest is lifted, abs are lifted. Then when you're ready, we're going to bowl an imaginary ball, reach forward and stretch back at the same time with the other leg. And then you're going to slowly squeeze all the way back up in one go. So you've got 4 stages. You've got your knee bends, then second stage, tip from the hips, keep a straight back. Then bowl your ball for the 3rd stage, reach and stretch as far as you can, and then squeeze all the way back to your starting position, aiming to use your glutes on the standing leg as much as possible. You'll feel it through the whole standing leg, so you'll probably feel your hamstrings, your calves working. Reach and stretch as far as you can, squeeze all the way back through. We've got 3 more. Really focus on your posture. Make sure you've got a nice straight back. You're not rounding as you go forwards. Last 2, we're going to try and get more knee bend now. You're going to challenge it. So you dip down into the knee, and then now as you tip forward from the hips, imagine trying to get your belly button towards your thigh, even though you're keeping your back nice and straight. So you'll get more challenge. You'll really feel this now. We've got 1 more. I'm certainly feeling the burn. Go down into it. And then squeeze back up, and then relax. Well done. We'll change over to the other leg now. So, setting up your balance and your posture to begin with. So you're starting onto the one leg. You're thinking of both sitting bones being lifted, so you're squeezing the glutes a little bit. Pelvis is level, and then when you're ready, keeping nice tall posture, we bend into our standing knee. Tip forwards from the hips like car headlight beam going down to the floor. Then we're going to reach and stretch with the free arm and leg. And then we squeeze all the way back up, squeezing our standing bottom as much as possible. And then don't forget your alignment as you do this. So just take a little peek and check that your knee is just going over the 2nd and the 3rd toe. So it's not wobbling inwards. We're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing with our hips and knees. Squeeze the bottom muscles, bring you back up. If you do find your knees doing a little bit of a dance and it's wobbling in, think of pushing the knee out using your bottom muscles. So a little bit like using a clam exercise here. Coming all the way back through, we have 3 more. So focusing on the posture, going down into the knee, tip forwards from the hips, keep the chest lifted, then reach and stretch as far as you can, and then squeeze the bottom to pull you back up and grow nice and tall. Keep your balance. Last 2 with more knee bend now. So now as we tip from the pelvis, try and get your belly button towards your thigh. Get a big reach and stretch. Squeeze back up. Really use your glutes. Last one. Coming all the way back through, and then rest. Good, okay, we're gonna go for a little bit of spinal mobility now. So to start with, we can just go back to toes pointing forwards, hip distance apart. We're gonna bring our hands into a prayer position, and I want you to take a nice deep breath in and just focus on widening your ribs as much as you can on your inhale. And then on your exhale, just feel like you're sliding the ribs towards each other, as if we're knitting them together. So opening, expanding on your inhale, and then exhale, closing the ribs. Now at the same time, I want you to do this breath with hands in prayer position, and then check that we don't hold any tension into our shoulders. Relaxed, collarbones are open. So breathing in wide, and then exhale, close the ribs together. And you can use your breath a little bit more now. So you inhale through the nose, and then as you exhale, purse your lips, imagine you're blowing a candle out. Now we're going to add a twist in. So pelvis for now wants to stay pointing forwards. Imagine you've got car headlight beams pointing to the front of the room. You're not going to let them twist. They're going to stay nice and still. You take a nice deep breath in, and then as we breathe out now, we're going to rotate and twist our upper body as much as we can using that out breath. And then inhale back to center, and then exhale to the other side. Now, as we do this, I want you to picture as if your spine is like you wringing out a cloth. As you twist, I want you to really try and get as much movement out of it as you can. Check the hands stay in towards the breastbone, the sternum here. So we're not just twisting the upper body and the arms, we're going just with the rotation of the spine. So trying to twist our spine, shoulders stay down. Now, especially as you inhale, check you don't pick up. And then as we breathe out, we're dropping those shoulders down, rotating through that mid-back, and the eyes just kind of go along. Your gaze is just following your hands really here. So breathing out as you twist, inhale, bring it back into the middle. Now we'll add a little bit of balance, a little bit of calves in. So you'll bring your feet together, and then when you're ready, you're going to lift both heels up as high as you can. Hands come back to prayer position. Now when you're ready, breathing out and twisting. Inhale, bring it back to the middle, and then exhale, twist. So we're going to have to work on our core stability with our balance here. So abdominals should be engaged. We should be making sure our pelvis stays over the top of our feet. We're grounding through, we're lifting through the crown of our head. We're trying to get as much rotation as possible through the upper body. Really use your breath, breathe out, rotate round, empty your lungs, see how far you can take the twist. And then inhale, bring it back center, keep those shoulders relaxed. Last one, twisting round. Bring it all the way back center, and then relax. And now we're going to take it into some roll downs. So you'll have your toes pointing forwards, hip distance apart again. Reset to the posture that we did right at the very beginning. So you're making sure you're in the middle of your feet. Chest is lifted, pelvis is in neutral. We'll go for a couple of shoulder rolls around, and then when you're ready, just allow the shoulders to drop heavy. We'll bring our chin to our chest, and we'll slowly start to curl forwards one vertebrae at a time. Imagine that you're peeling away from the wall, so one vertebrae at a time. You will really draw in as much as possible here. Squeeze the bottom to try and keep the pelvis still, and then when you can't go any further, then release the pelvis and go all the way down nice and heavy. When you get to the bottom, we're just going to hold it here. Take a couple of breaths in and out. Make sure you're in the middle of your feet. Try and make sure you feel like you're centered between your left and right foot, so you're not leant to one side. And then when you're ready now, you're going to squeeze your bottom, tuck your tailbone underneath you. Imagine you're sliding your tail down the wall behind you. Roll the pelvis back. Once the pelvis comes back, then just very gently restack one vertebrae at a time, coming back up that nice tall position. Check you've not locked your legs, they're soft still, but they're straight. And then when you're ready, a couple of shoulder rolls, and we'll go again. So bringing the chin to the chest. Slowly lengthen between every segment. Imagine your spine is dinosaur spikes. You're opening out each individual spike. The arms slide down the thighs initially and then they float forward, so your hands are just draped underneath your shoulders here. We roll all the way through. I want you to hang like a ragdoll when you get to the bottom. Check the shoulders have let go of any tension. There's no tension into the neck, so you can do a few no shakes left and right with the head. Let the head just relax. Take a couple more breaths. As you breathe out, just go heavier with the body. Really feel the length all the way through the back side of the body. So you want it from the feet, the soles of your feet, coming up the back of your legs, and then a length all the way down the spine, and just relax the neck. And then when you're ready, unravel. Squeeze the bottom muscles. Imagine you're tucking your tail between your legs. Once you've used your bottom muscles to pull the pelvis back, then just restack one vertebrae at a time all the way. Okay, one more here, just like the last two. So you're going to just feel the length. Really allow yourself to go floppy like a rag doll. Let the arms dangle underneath the shoulders, let the neck feel nice and soft, take all the tension away. As you breathe out, go heavier. Allow your body to relax into stretch. See if on every out breath you can just drape towards the floor, just that little bit more. Let all the tension go, especially on the out breath. And then unraveling all the way back through. Squeezing the bottom muscles. Roll the pelvis back. Check it's just the pelvis. The spine stays curly. Once the pelvis comes back, then we restack the rest of the spine. Okay, we're going to add pendulum swings into the next one. So you'll curl all the way down, just like you have done. Check your weight stays in the middle of your feet. You're not leaning back into your heels or forward into your toes. Then when you get to the bottom, go floppy and heavy again. Now we're going to let the hips do a sway. So allow your hips just to swivel around to the left and right, like you're wagging a tail. And then just allow the body now just to flow with the movement. So imagine your upper body is a heavy pendulum and it's just swinging from left to right. It's swaying around the sides of the legs. And now just feel a little extra stretch through your waist, all down the back side of your body. You might even feel it a little bit to each side of the legs. And then bring it back into the middle. And then we'll unravel all the way back to our start position and reset into our nice tall posture. So again, checking the waist is centered. Your feet are relaxed, but you've made that tripod. We're not gripping our toes. Knees are straight but soft. You've locked them and then release them. And then go for a couple of pelvic tilts. Find that mid position. Keep the collarbones lifted and open and relax through the shoulders. And now we're going to move to the end of your mat. We're going to do one more roll down before moving into our mobility and posture series. So now just stepping out to the end here. I'm going to get you to go back into your roll down. So you'll bring your chin towards your chest and slowly curl down one vertebrae at a time all the way. We'll relax nice and heavy to the bottom. Bring your hands to the mat. If you need to bend your knees, then do. And then walk your hands straight out in front of you into a hands and knees start position. So from here, I'm going to get you just to check your posture in hands and knees. So wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. We'll start with our cat stretch. We're going to tuck our tailbone underneath us, round through our back as if we're spiking out all our fur into an angry cat position. I want you to feel your abdominals lifting, squeeze your bottom muscles to get the tuck of the tailbone, really work to get into the lower back here. Keep the neck nice and long, so you'll tuck the chin now and imagine you're holding a peach and you're going to maintain that. You're now going to send your pelvis the opposite way, so you'll allow your tailbone to lift towards the ceiling, allow the belly button to drop, lower ribs to drop, and then we're going to lift the chest. Imagine that you're a puppy being picked up by the scruff of the neck, but you're keeping the length of the neck, so we've still tucked the chin and pushed the back of the head up towards the ceiling to open through our upper back. I want you to feel this stretch in between the shoulder blades area here. And then we'll go back to your angry cat. So tuck the tailbone, Unravel the opposite way. Squeeze the bottom, squeeze the inner thigh slightly and lift the abdominals to really hollow through your back. Push away from the floor. Imagine a hot candle lit underneath your belly button and it's burning. Lift away from the heat of the flame. Keep the length in the neck so you've tucked the chin. Now extend the tailbone the opposite way. Allow the belly button and lower ribs to relax towards the floor. But lift the collarbones now as if there's a hot candle lit just underneath your collarbones and you're pushing yourself up. So you widen the shoulder blades. Push the shoulders away from the ears. Open the chest. I want you to picture that you're a lion with a fluffy chest and puff your chest out a little bit more here so you really open the upper back. Keep the neck long so you've tucked the chin in but you've pushed up towards the ceiling, so we're making sure we don't crease the back of the neck and shorten. And then back through to Angry Cat. So unraveling, getting lots and lots of length all the way through each vertebrae here. Really imagine you're spiking out your spine. And then release, roll the opposite way. Go into your happy cat, pull the shoulders away from the ears, open the chest. You should be squeezing the back of the arms, the back of the shoulder blades, pushing up away from the floor and lengthening the neck to feel that extra stretch between the shoulder blades. And then come back through into your Angry Cat. So you're going to go all the way through to Angry Cat. Rounding, tucking tailbone as much as possible. And then release, roll back to your happy cat. We're then going to try and get into a beautiful posture for the upper back. So focus on those shoulder blades pulling away from the ears, the back of the arms tightening. You've lifted the chest. Keep this position through your upper back and then we'll send off. So you're just going to tuck the tailbone and feel the abdominals lifting. This is a really useful one to have a mirror to have a look at home because you want to think abs are lifted, chest is lifted, and we've got a nice straight back position really is what we're looking for here. Now from here, once you've gone into this position, I'm going to get us to go into Superman's. So slide the opposite hand and foot away on your mat, and then you're going to lift, keeping this nice long posture with your spine. Then slowly bring it back into your start position, change to the other side. Now the hands and knees, I want to be shoulder and hip distance apart. So then as you alternate from one side to the other, I want to check you don't sway your hips left and right. You keep your hips centered. So imagine a laser beam poking down from your belly button. Keep it down on the same point on the mat. You're going to try and lift and lengthen the opposite arm and leg as much as you can. So you will use the opposite shoulder and bottom muscle as you lift away. So you're going to try and really draw the shoulder and the bottom towards each other. But then we've got our abdominals engaged to make sure that we don't dip our belly button down and arch into our lower back. So you're keeping that length through the spine. So chest is lifted, abs are lifted, and then see how far you can reach with your hand and foot. This is a really good exercise for all over. You need core stability, you need to think about body awareness. We're making sure we've got the back of our body working with our shoulder and the glutes, and we're also working through the front of our body with our abdominals, with our core stability here. So it's a good all-rounder. When you do it well, it's a really hard exercise. Now we're going to adapt it slightly and we're going to add in our cat stretch a little bit. So now what's going to happen is we're going to round into an Angry Cat, pull the hand to the knee and round our back, bring our chin to our chest. Keep our stability here. Then when you're ready, we're going to extend into a Happy Cat. We're going to lengthen the leg, lift the chest. You'll slightly drop through the abdominals, but make sure you've got core control. So we're tightening the abs even though we're dipping. Lift the chest up, lift the arm and the leg up. Then round it back in. We're going to go for 5. We're going to pull in, tuck and round the back as much as you can. Bring the chin to the chest and then extend away. Keep the neck long. Open the chest. Lift the arm and the leg up. Keep your shoulder stability and then pull it back into center. It's a tough one for our wrist because we're staying on the same side for 5. So if you need to take a rest or alternate if your wrists are hurting, feel free to. A slightly harder version would be to go onto your fist but it's a little bit more of a challenge on the balance that way. And then extend away and up, open the chest, push away from the floor, and then pull it back in. We have one more. Rounding up as much as you can, and then extending up as much as you can, and then release and change over to the opposite side. So still in hands and knees, making sure you're centered, you've not shifted your weight left or right. When you're ready, get that stability, chest lifted, abs lifted. Take the arm and the leg up, and then round into your angry cat. Pull the knee into chest, pull the chin down towards your chest also. And then extend. You're going to lift the arm and the leg as high as I'll go, lift the chest away from the floor, but keep the abs tight. And then pull it back into center. Rounding through, you may feel a difference from one side to the other on stability, on flexibility. You want to feel your shoulder and your glute drawing together while the abs stay nice and tight when we go into extended position. So lifting the abs here into angry cat, so we round into lower back. Keep the neck long as we lift, so tucking the chin in, but then squeeze the shoulder and the glute together while the abs draw in. Back into center, last two. Reaching and extending. Last one. And reaching. And then release. Just take it into a very quick child's pose. So knees go nice and wide, bottom back to the heels, drop the chest down and just melt into the mat here. And then we're going to push forwards, and we're going to go into the dart pose next, and a little bit of swan dive. So you'll need your flat head cushion for this one. So hold it you have at home. You'll then extend your legs back behind you and lie down onto your tummy. Now from here I'm going to get you just to rest your forehead into that towel or cushion, and then hands are going to come out into a W shape. So we've got hands shoulder height, just a little bit wider than the mat. Roll the shoulders back and round and bring the elbows towards your waist. To begin with, I want some tension through the legs, so you're going to point the toes and lock the knees and lengthen away. Push your pubic bone down into your mat and hollow your abdominals, so you're going to lift the belly button. Imagine you're drawing in those imaginary springs from rib to hip, so we tighten our rib and hip together at the front and we lengthen our lower back, so you want lots and lots of length here. When you're ready from there, keeping the abdominals lifted and the shoulders away from the ears, you're then just going to slowly float your forehead just off your cushion. As you do this, think of drawing the chin to the chest slightly so the nose is pointing down. So while we do all this, I want you to always think a laser beam on your nose is pointing down onto the mat and it never goes forward onto your head cushion. You keep the length through the back of the neck and feel like you're just pushing the back of the head up towards the ceiling. But you're lifted, so we're just working on the upper back and the neck, getting that extension away. And then lower back into the mat and take a quick rest, reset. So abs engaged, legs pointing away, tuck the chin, float the head up, float, hold here, feel the length from the crown of the head right through to the toes, feel like you're stretching your spine, making it longer. It's not a very big lift here, and then lower back down. And then we'll go again, so resetting, abs engaged, pubic bone pushed down, belly button's lifting as though there's a hot candle underneath you, lifting away from the heat, and then you lengthen the spine. If you think of the natural curvature of your spine, your middle back naturally rounds forward. So for your middle back just to come to a flat position even here is quite difficult. So I really want you to isolate it. I want you to feel like the effort is coming from this upper back. So the whole of the spine from kind of lower shoulder blade area all the way through to the back of the head. I want you to feel the length. But then the lower back I want you to feel is relaxed. So you're pulling up through the abdominals to protect the lower back. And release. Now we're going to go just a little bit higher. We're just going to go to the upper back. So you're going to float the head up. Now you can slightly imagine that laser beam is going to start to go forward a little bit from your nose onto your head cushion. As you push down into the hands, pull back with the shoulders and open the chest as high up off the mat as you can, collarbones lifting away from the mat, but your abdominals are still engaged. You haven't flattened your abs into the mat. So lower ribs are attached to the mat. It's just the upper back lifting away. The neck stays long, so we haven't brought the head forwards and shortened the back of our neck. We're keeping that length. So you've tucked the chin in, push the back of the head up, and then slowly release all the way back down. This is a wonderful posture exercise here. It's quite a tough one. So, chin tucked in, float the head up, abs are engaged. Slowly lift. As you can't go any higher, you push down into the hands, open those collarbones, and lift just that little bit further into the upper back. We've still got the tension into the legs, we've still got the abs engaged, neck is long. And then lower all the way through. We're just going to go for 2 more like so. This is what I call your mini swan. We're going halfway. And think of that swan's neck, how beautiful the curvature is. I want you to try and create that here with your upper back. This is the stiffest point into your back, your mid-back, so it's quite tricky to get into this. Check you're really not feeling it into your lower back. Abs are engaged. Last one here, keeping the tension in the legs and the abs. Open the chest, pull the shoulders down, and then we'll release all the way. And now we can go into our dart move. So for our dart, we'll bring our feet together. We'll have our hands into our sides. You can have palms pointing in, thumbs pointing down to the floor, little fingers up to the ceiling. Hands are just going to be floating, so we're not touching the floor here. We're going to pull the shoulders away from the ears. Abs are going to be drawn in. We're going to tuck the tailbone, lengthen the lower back still, and we're going to slide our hands down our trouser leg towards our feet, and then slowly release and lower back down. Now as we do this, you're keeping that upper back posture that you've just been working on. So the neck stays long, but we're lifting the back of the head up to the ceiling. And as you slide the hands down your trouser leg, you're squeezing the shoulder blades down to your back jeans pockets. You're opening the chest and lifting it away from the floor, and then lowering back through. So legs have got some tension in still. We're still pushing the pubic bone down into the mat. You're squeezing the glutes to help get that tuck under of the tailbone there. And then also your abs are engaged, so we're not feeling this into lower back. This should be upper back. You want to feel underneath those shoulder blades and between the shoulder blades working. We'll go for 1 more. And then we'll release, push back into a child's pose here. So just resting bottom back to heels, drop the chest down and relax through the upper body. And then now coming all the way back through. We're going to go back to hands and knees, and we're going to go in for some thread the needle next. So back into making sure that your wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. When you're ready from here, you take one hand, slide it in between the opposite arm and hip, and you're going to drop down into our thread the needle stretch to the bottom of it. You'll drop to your shoulders and your head. You want to make sure there's no tension into the neck, that you're relaxed here. If this feels okay, we'll then lift our top arm up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to bring the hand back down. Now pressing down into this hand, we're then going to slide the arm up and open the opposite way. So we're going to lift up towards the ceiling. Now try and stretch between the handspans, so you're really pushing away from the floor. Arms are locked. Squeeze the shoulders back, rotate, and then come back to center, and now we'll go to the opposite side, so we'll change over. So take the other hand through, slide the hand through between the hand and the hip, drop down to head and shoulders. Push into that bottom arm on the floor to give you that twist. Breathe into your ribs. Take the other arm up to the ceiling if you feel comfortable. Check you don't feel any tension into the neck, otherwise don't go all the way down. Just try and slide the hand through. And then come back to center. Push into your bottom arm. And then we're going to lift towards the ceiling, opening it up as far as you can. Really push up away, so you're stretching between the handspan. Then bring it back to center, change back through. So sliding the hand through, dropping all the way down, lifting up to the ceiling, push into the bottom arm. As I mentioned, if you do feel this into the neck, you're just going to slide the hand across and get the rotation so you're not dropping into the head. Then we're going to come all the way back up and open through to the opposite side. And then bring it back. Now changing, last one here. So we're dropping all the way down into the twist, the lower twist. Go as far as you can. And then bringing it back through, opening up towards the ceiling. And then releasing. Now we're going to continue with a little bit more rotation. We're going to go into arm openings next. This is where you'll need a thick cushion for this exercise. So I'm going to stack up with a yoga block. So I've got the extra cushioning. Now from here, you're going to lie onto your side. So I'm going to shuffle down. And you want to make sure that your head is stacked at the front of your pillow, as we'll be rolling back off your pillow here. Arms are going to stack out in front of you. Your knees are going to come up to hip height. From here, what's going to happen is we're going to rotate our upper body, keeping the pelvis stacked. So I think knees are glued together, top hip is over the bottom hip, and it's not going to roll back to the wall behind you. But your upper body, you're now going to twist, and you're going to look out to the opposite side. You're going to roll all the way back and try and pull your shoulder into the floor. My top arm just kind of goes along for the ride. It's the very last thing to move. And then when you're ready, you're going to open the arm all the way out to the side. See how far you can reach the arm. Try and get the shoulders down. Check the hips are stacked. So you've pushed that top hip forwards again. And you should feel a nice stretch. It might be on your pec, it might be the chest, it might be the upper arm, it might be your waist, or into your lower back, just depending where you're tightest. And then we roll back to our start position and restack. So off we go again. You're going to slide the body, the upper body back. You're trying to get your shoulder blade down. So when you think of the back of the shoulder going down, the most important thing is that the shoulder's the lowest point. The arm then reaches out, last thing, and we make sure that your shoulder's always lower than your hand. And then coming all the way back through to our start position. We'll go for 2 more on this side. So rotating, twisting, pulling the shoulder down, then the arm, and then reaching all the way out. Keep the hips stacked, and then bring it back into our start position. Last one. So take your time, enjoy the stretch, focus on your hips, push that top hip forwards as you rotate back. You may find the more you push that hip forwards, you won't be able to go as low with the shoulder, but you'll get more stretch. And then coming all the way back through, and then we'll change to the other side. So resetting yourself, your knees are bent forwards at hip height, your head's at the front of your head cushion, shoulders are stacked, arms are stacked. When you're ready, rotate and twist, pull the shoulder down to the floor, and then reach your arm over as far as you can, keeping the hip stacked and the shoulder down. Breathe into the stretch, and then release. Roll all the way back to your start position. So again, as we do this, we really focus on pulling the shoulder down to the floor. Think of the back of the shoulder socket going down as low as you can, and then think of that top hip really being pulled forward so you get that nice twist through the body. And then restacking all the way, and then twisting all the way back through. Last one. Coming back through for this last time. And then we're going to move on to our ab series next. So you're going to just push your thick cushion away. You'll just need either a flat one, or you can go without a cushion if you want. And I want you to roll onto your back. So making sure you're in your rest position to begin with, ankles, knees and hips in alignment. You can go for a couple of pelvic tilts forwards and backwards. Find that nice mid position where you're centered on your tailbone and you have that nice little curve in your lower back. Interlock the hands, bring the hands behind the head. You'll take your elbows up to your periphery a little bit and then pull the shoulder blades away from your ears like you're trying to squeeze your armpits down to your hips. Relax the weight of the head into the hands, make sure it's nice and comfortable here so the neck is soft and heavy. Take a deep breath in wide into the ribs, and then when you're ready, as you breathe out, you're going to curl up into this abdo prep, curl up here. We're focusing as we curl up to breathe out, pull the rib cage together like we're trying to tie little belts around our ribs and we're pulling another notch in. And then as you lower down, you'll inhale and try and open the ribs back down onto the mat. So breathing out on the way up, inhaling to lower, checking that the lower back stays nice and relaxed. And we're not tilting our pelvis. So if you were to put a spirit level over your pelvis going from hip bone to hip bone, it doesn't change. And from pubic bone to belly button, it doesn't tip forwards and backwards. We're going to go for 2 more here with our abdo prep with our legs down. And then from here, we're going to move on to abdo prep with double tabletop. So we'll flatten our back. So tuck the tailbone, pull pubic bone to navel. We'll imprint our lower back into the mat. Fold the legs one by one into double tabletop and glue the knees and ankles together. From here, breathing out to come up. Inhaling to lower. You're going to be watching your knees as you do this, checking that they don't judder forwards and backwards. So we're focusing on that pelvic stability. So your lower abs should be working the entire time to keep your back nice and flat. So really pull pubic bone to navel, maintain that tuck, check the knees don't move, and then we're trying to lift our shoulders by drawing our rib cage down as if we're tucking our ribs in towards our pants. We're going to go for 3 more. And then take a quick rest. You can pull your knees into your chest for a little hug. Now we're going to move into our crisscross exercise. So back to the same start position, legs to double tabletop, hands behind the head. We'll curl up through abdo prep. Now when you're ready, you're going to stretch one leg away as long and as low as you can take it. Twist to the stationary knee, then fold it back to center, staying curled up, lift the shoulders up, and then twist to the other side on your next breath out. Inhale back into center, breathe out and twist. Inhale, fold it back in. Make a nice conscious effort to really utilize your breath, empty your lungs as you twist. Stretch the leg as far away as you can, making sure that we still keep a nice flat back, and then our pelvis stays level. So if you watch your stationary knee as you twist towards it, you're checking that you don't wobble or judder. So imagine your favorite drink is resting on top of the knee. We're going to keep that nice and still. So we've got pelvic stability, abs should be burning. Lots of one leg stretch, reach away as far as you can. We're going to go for 2 more to each side. You may feel a difference on each side. Keep the shoulders up, especially as we rotate back in. Last one. And then pull it back in. Knees into chest, give them a little hug and a rest. And now we'll move straight on into our double leg stretch. So we'll curl up, grab hold of the outside of the ankles, round like a ball here. Take a breath in to prepare, and you're ready, breathing out. Stretch the arms and legs away. Fold it back in, curling up just that little bit higher. Now as you stretch away, you're aiming to try and keep that tuck of the tailbone. So you're really focusing on making sure that you're pulling pubic bone to navel the entire time. We've got 5 more. Last 3. Stay with me. Only 2 more. Don't know if your abs are burning, but mine are. and then draw it in, give your knees a little hug. Now I'd like to try and take us into the roll over next. This is quite an advanced move. Don't worry if you can't do it, I'll give you an alternative version. If at any point you feel any pull or strain on your neck, you should always stop this move. So with the roll over, you're going to have your hands nice and flat onto the mat. You're going to push your shoulders down. We fold our legs into a double tabletop start position. We start by stretching both legs away, and then we're going to roll over by taking the legs up and over our heads. So you push into your hands a little bit here, you push your feet towards the floor. Now you're going to flex the ankles, separate the legs to mat width, and then slowly roll it down one vertebra at a time. You're going to really pull the thighs in towards your chest here, keeping the legs nice and straight and controlling it one vertebra at a time. When the feet go over the hips, we then go wide, we circle the legs around, and then we fold back into our next rollover of pointed toes. Flex the feet, open to mat width, and then slowly rolling all the way back down. If you find that you're struggling with this because of your neck, or you're struggling to get the legs overhead, instead what we're going to do is we're going to circle the legs around, take them up, and then try and lift our hips just a little bit. And then we go back into those circles. Otherwise, stay with the rollover. You're going to fold over, flex the ankles, separate the legs, as slow and as controlled, one vertebra at a time. The watch points with the rollover is to make sure you're not trying to lift your head at any point. So when the legs come overhead, you're keeping the head down, shoulders and arms are pressed down. Breathe out, take them overhead. Separate the feet, flex the ankles. Slow and controlled, rolling back down one vertebrae at a time. Take your time, feel every segment, and then circle and swoop. You should really feel that pull. You pull your thighs towards your chest, round into your lower back here. Last one. Rolling one vertebra at a time back down. Swoop all the way through and bring the knees into chest. Give them a little hug. Well done for that one. Okay, we're going to move into our teaser next. So reset yourself. We're going to have a flat back position. Legs come up to double tabletop, glue the knees and ankles together. Take the arms overhead, take a nice deep breath in. When you're ready, as you breathe out, you'll press the arms down, pulling the shoulder blades down, rounding through, coming all the way to your sitting bones. Then we lengthen the legs and we reach the arms in a parallel line. If you can't get your legs that high, don't worry, they can go a little bit lower here. Then when you're ready, fold in, and then we roll one vertebra at a time as slow as we can back down. That's the hard bit. Take the arms overhead, inhale to prepare, exhale, curling all the way through, reaching long, and then folding and rolling all the way back. Watch points again, check the shoulders stay down because it's quite easy to pick our shoulders up, but we want a nice long collarbone line here. Take your time as you roll it back, fight that roll down. Slowly, slow and controlled coming back. We're going to go for one more. Bring it all the way up, hold it, and then relax. Just fold forwards. Just take a little moment to rest your abs here. And then we're going to move over into some side jackknives next. Rolling to one side, you're going to straighten your bottom arm straight out in front of you. Top hand goes behind the head. When you're ready from here, straightening the legs away, we're going to lift the upper body, pushing down into the elbow and the hand, and then lower. And at the same time, we're going to be lifting up with our legs. You want to try and think about keeping the coordination between the upper and the lower body as you do this one. We'll go for 5 more. And then releasing through from there. We'll change to the other side now. So legs are straight out. When you're ready, we're going to crunch up with the upper body and the legs, keeping the coordination together. We're pushing down into our elbow and our forearm. We have 5 more. And then rest. And now we're going to go into our last core exercise, which is our kneeling mermaid. This is very similar to if you do reformer sessions, to the long box exercise. So one leg's going to straighten straight out. We pull the toes forward, so we turn our foot in a little bit. We ground ourselves nice and tall here. When you're ready, we're going to bring our arms and cross over in the front. And then we're going to go away and reach as far as we can. And then bring it back in, crossing the arms in front. So big reach, stretch as far as you can with both hands. Bring it back and away we go again. I want you to feel the length. I want you to reach as far as you can. We have one more. And then releasing and changing through to the other side. So leg go straight out, toes forward, turned in a little bit there, nice and tall posture, and then crossing the arms and bringing them over and reaching through and coming back. And you may notice a difference between sides. That's quite normal here. We're getting a good workout for our obliques, but we're also stretching them at the same time. So you shouldn't walk away feeling too tight from this part of the workout. I love what we call eccentric training, and this is where we put tension on when the muscle's in a lengthened position. So it's really good for you, it prevents injuries, prevents you getting tight. That's why Pilates tends to be so good, that you feel like you've worked, but you don't feel like you've tightened up like you do when you lift big weights. Last 2. All right, so really reach your way for this last one. And then come all the way back up and relax. So I'm going to grab my head cushion because I prefer this when I'm doing my bridges. And I'm going to lie all the way down onto my back. So from here, I'm going to get you to place your palms face up, shoulders nice and relaxed, neck nice and long. Bring the heels a little bit closer in towards your bottom. And then when you're ready, you're going to tuck the tailbone under and then squeeze the glutes, roll one vertebrae at a time all the way up through your spine curl. And then when you're ready, drop the rib cage back down, round through the lower back, keep tucking the tailbone as you lengthen one vertebrae at a time all the way back down to the mat. So we'll continue with our spine curls here, but I want you to really send the emphasis into the glutes. So you'll push down into your heels as you're lifting through the hips. We'll just continue with 3 more here as a bit of a warm-up for our glutes. And last one. And rolling it all the way back down. Okay, now we're going to go into single leg bridge. So bring your feet a little bit closer together. One leg's going to go straight up. You can either go with a bent knee or a straight leg, entirely up to you. You're going to push all the way through into single leg bridge and then lower the hips. With this one, you won't be able to spine curl quite as much. So I want you to just focus on keeping the tuck of the tailbone as much as possible and then pushing down into the heel to lift up through the pelvis. So nice squeezes up. Really reach towards the ceiling with your toe or your knee, depending whether you've gone for the bent or the straight leg version. You want to think about keeping the hips nice and level as you do. You really drive down into the heel. You'll feel your hamstring as well as your bottom muscle, but making sure it's not into your back here. 2 more. And then release and change. So, leg straight up, either with bent knee and tabletop or straight leg, and then when you're ready, pushing up with the hips and then lowering down. Drive down into the heel to help really activate through the glutes. Reach to the ceiling through your free leg. Check your pelvis stays level. You might feel a difference between sides, that's quite normal. We'll go for 2 more. And then lowering all the way back down. Now we're going to bring our feet a little bit closer in towards us. So draw them up towards your bottom. Then when you're ready, roll back up into your bridge. Now from here, we're just going to lift one heel and then lower it and change to the opposite side. So I want you to work into your calf. Do a nice little press here as you push the heel up as high as possible. Then check your pelvis stays nice and level. And then after this next one, we're then going to go with both. So lifting the heels and then pressing the heels down and lifting the heels. At the same time, we try and keep your hips nice and still. So try not to let your hips drop as you push your heels back down. Should start to feel it in the calves now, as well as the glutes. Keep your tush nice and tight here. Last 2. Last 1. And then release all the way back down. You can give your knees a little hug if you want to. Now we're going to roll over to a hands and knees position, and we're going to continue with a little bit more glute work. So just coming all the way around. And from here, I want you to just set yourself back up. So wrists are underneath shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. You've lifted your chest, lengthened the back of the neck, lifted the abdominals. When you're ready, stretch one leg straight back. We're going to flex the foot. From here, we're going to be lifting the heel up and down. What I'm wanting as you're lifting is that you keep the tummy muscles engaged so you're not dropping the belly button every time that you lift the heel. Clench the glutes, really squeeze into the bottom to see how high you can take the leg. But of course, you're thinking of core stability, making sure the lower back stays nice and still, and we're not tilting the pelvis. We're going to stay with this. We've got a series of 3 here. So this whole series, we're going to be working through our bottom muscles. We're also going to be working onto hamstrings as well. Hamstrings are really important because they attach into our sitting bone, and they're almost like the lifter of your glutes. So to help give you the nice glute shape, you need to also work hamstrings. We'll go for 2 more here with this one. Stay with me. Lift up, hold, flex the foot. You're going to pull the heel towards your bottom, doing a hamstring curl, and then you're going to straighten the leg straight out, keeping the knee lifted. So every time you straighten, I want you to really focus on trying to lift the leg away. Push the heel away, but then pull the heel in like there's a heavy weight attached to your heel, and you can physically feel the weight of it as you pull it in. You're focusing on keeping the pelvis nice and level here. We'll go for 2 more. And then release. And now we're going to go into your fire hydrant exercise next. So same leg, and we're going to go out to the side, keeping the pelvis level, and then slowly pull it back in. So imagine that you've got a little tray of drinks resting on your lower back. You keep that nice and still so you don't tip it off to one side, but then you're going to press the knee out as high as you can to the side. This is very similar to when we do our clam exercise. We're getting lots of rotation out as well as abduction here. Check your posture, you're still lifted up through the chest and lifted through the abs. And then release. And now we're going to do the whole series on the other side. So straighten your leg back, flex at the ankle, lift the abs, and then when you're ready, you're going to squeeze the glute and lift the leg up. And then check that you feel the stability through the spine as you do this one. So you're making sure that you're not dropping your belly button, you're not dipping into your lower back, the chest stays lifted, the abs stay engaged. Clench the glute to get the lift. You'll start to feel it a little bit down the back of the leg into hamstring as well. Stay with me for these. And then we're going to take it into hamstring curl. So our leg goes up, we fold the heel towards you, and then we stretch it away, keeping the knee lifted. So all the same principles, we're lifting chest and abs. We now imagine we've got a heavy weight resting onto our foot. We're squeezing up with the weight and pulling the heel towards the bottom. And then as you lengthen the leg away, you're lifting the knee and locking. So you're trying to get as much height as you can. Still making sure you've not turned out at the knee or the hip, so the hips are level. If you had little car headlight beams pointing out of your hips, they would be pointing down onto the mat now. We've got one more, and then release. And now into your fire hydrant. So abs lifted, chest lifted, open out to the side, pushing out with the knee, trying to take the knee up towards the ceiling. And then keeping the hips level. You'll start to also feel this into your stabilizing glute as well. So the more you push out, the more you should feel the stationary hip as well. We're almost there. This is our last exercise here in our glute series. And then last one, and release, and now just press back, little child's pose. Coming back through, we'll do a quick glute stretch. I'm going to take you into pigeon fold. So folding one knee forward, slide the hips back, press down, just go nice and heavy. Just release off a little bit here through our hips. And then coming back through, changing to the opposite side. And then pushing all the way back through, coming into a seated position. Pull the knees into your, open the chest. Do a couple of head rolls. And then relax. You're done. Well done.